Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Distinct Authors Talking Publishing. Today I thought I would talk a little bit about something that I've really been noticing online with people who maybe are new to the publishing industry. And when they're talking about publishing as either self-publishing or they're looking for a publisher, and what they're kind of falling into that pit trap of vanity presses. So today I figured I would just kind of touch a little bit about what self-publishing is, what vanity presses are, and what traditional publishing is in the industry. Now, I have been in the industry for almost 11 years as a published author, and I have worked with a number of traditional publishing houses. I've also worked with self-publishing authors. I'm myself a self-published author. I've got a couple books out that I've put out myself. And one of the things that I learned very early on was the pitfall that we often find ourselves in as an author when we're just starting out, when we're looking for publishers, we're looking to get our books onto the market, and we get these offers from these publishers or these editors who, hey, I can help you get your book published, and so on and so forth. And the next thing you know, you're looking at a huge bill of thousands and thousands of dollars, which you can't afford, for one, and for two, they want you to pay them, which by definition means that this particular company is a vanity press, or they're really out to line their pockets much more than they are looking to ensure that you are getting a marketable product to get out onto the market. And in the past, it's been very prevalent, and I have noticed that there have been a lot of authors that are just getting started that have been on social media asking, I'm looking for a publisher that I don't have to pay. I did all of this work for this company, and now they want, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And so really knowing what to look for in a publisher is vital to avoiding that pitfall of getting caught up in dealing with a vanity press. Now, there is nothing wrong with a vanity press if that is the option that you want to go with. But really, if you are looking to get your book out there, you're looking to make some money and do it in a way that is sure to put the money in your pockets rather than someone else's, especially when you were looking at thousands of dollars, then it's really key that you kind of understand the differences between a vanity press, a traditional press, or a traditional publisher, and as well as what you would need if you wanted to do the publishing yourself. So when you're looking at a traditional press or a traditional publishing house, these are publishing houses where they do the work, they pay you. You are contracted in, and your contract, depending on the publishing house, can range anywhere from 1 year to 5 years. There's always a renewal clause in there where it's month by month, and there's certain things that you do, and it's all in that contract. And I can talk a little more about the contracts when it comes to dealing with publishing houses and what you want to look for, what you want to avoid. And I might just do a specific video specifically on that, because I think it's something that really is needed to be discussed in depth, as opposed to just simply a short little video like this one. So, like I said, when you were looking at a traditional press, they do the work. They do the cover art, they do the edits, they do the proofreading, they do the formatting. They basically take your raw manuscript that you have submitted to them, they put it under contract, and they do all of the work. Then at the end of it, they release it, they market it, they promote it to their extent, and they pay you a percentage of what they are paid in turn. So it really is designed for an author who doesn't, maybe isn't comfortable yet doing the self-publishing route. Now, there are traditional presses out there which are hybrid publishing houses. And what I mean when I say that is that these particular publishers offer a traditional route, which is where they contract it, they do the edits, they do the proofreading, they do the cover art, they do all of that. They pay you a royalty. But these publishing houses also have opened their doors to the authors who are more of the self-publishing mindset, where they also offer a paid-for service where they do the edits, they do the cover art, they do all of these things. The author pays them a certain percentage or a certain price that is set out in their agreement, and so on and so forth, so that the author has more control as opposed to the publishing house. Now, there is nothing wrong with these as a hybrid company. I really think that it's very beneficial because you can experience it in both manners, or both styles. Now, when it comes to doing it where you are a self-publishing, or you are looking at having 100% of the control of the end product, then you want to look at, you know, the reality. As a self-pub author, pardon me, you need to be aware that when you are doing it, you are responsible for all of the expenses. By that, I mean you're responsible for the expenses for the editing, for the cover art, any fees or anything that is associated with that book falls to you to pay, or to ensure that it is paid. Now, when you're self-pub, you do get a bigger chunk of the royalties as opposed to when you were traditionally published. That is the way it works. It is like that across the board. In my experiences, traditionally publishing houses pay between 40 and 50% of the royalties. That is not to mean that if the book is listed up for $4.99, you are going to be making $2.50 off of that book. That's not how it works. What they do is they pay you 40% of what they are paid after. They pay the cover. They cover any costs associated with the book, such as a distribution fee from the distribution point. Now, Amazon, for example, charges 30% right off the top. That's their fee for having your book up there, and that's what you pay, unless, of course, you're self-published and you go through a different process. Then, depending on the price of your book, you could be paying more than what you're actually going to be making off of the book. When you're self-publishing, as I said, all expenses fall onto you. That is your responsibility to pay for your editor, for your cover art, all of that. And there are reasonably priced editors or reasonably priced cover artists out there, and they are phenomenal, and you can find a really good one, and you can create a really good working relationship. But again, the onus of the expenses is on you, as opposed to the traditional route, where the risks and the expenditures are on the publisher. So, you know, there is a little bit more, you know, details that you want to kind of work out. Now, when you're traditionally published, and I've been through, you know, I've been that route for a number of my books. One of the things that I have really found is that with publishers, there are certain things that you are limited on. Like, they don't do, some of them don't do pre-orders, some of them don't, you know, don't do print runs, those sorts of things. So those are all factors that you need to take into consideration. When you're dealing with a vanity press, that vanity press, every expense is on you. It is on you to do all of the marketing, the promotion, everything. It's 100% you. Basically, it's the same thing as self-publishing, but what you're doing is you're paying them a much higher cost than what you need to be paying if you were to do it self-publishing. Now, I'm not anti vanity press, and I'm not pro vanity press. I mean, there are instances, yes, where it is a good idea to, you know, if that's what you want to do, go for it. But make sure that you take the time to actually research and look into it and understand exactly what they're offering for their services as opposed to what they're not offering. And I really think that, you know, it's a great idea. There are a couple of resources that I would highly recommend. One, of course, is Predators and Editors. They are an amazing website that is geared to prospective authors shopping for publishing houses, editors, etc. And they have a lot of really good information on there on publishing houses, whether it's, whether they're a scammer, whether they're good, they're bad, their contract sucks, so on and so forth, to whether they're a vanity press. So Predators and Editors is one, and I will actually have a link down below into the description box of the of their website. Google is another one that is absolutely phenomenal, and doing a just a quick Google search can actually give you some really good information on what you need to see, what you need to understand about the publisher that you may be looking at. Ask questions is another one. If you go onto their website and they have a list of authors, and you go over there and you click on a couple of those authors, send an email to those authors. Ask them, how they like that particular company that they're dealing with. What's the pros, the cons, those sorts of things. That's an invaluable resource to actually give you some feedback from someone who's on the ground, right in the thick of it. They know from experience whether they had a really good experience, whether they had a bad experience. Those sorts of things are vital. Check the publisher's website as well. If it looks maybe not up to date, like it's just been kind of thrown together, take a moment and really kind of go, ask yourself, is this something that I want to deal with? And then you can move forward from there. Now, I've never, I've never really had a bad experience with a traditional publisher that I'm still working with. I mean, I've had a couple of experiences with publishers where I've, they've closed, or they've been, it's been really hard to get communication from them. And usually when that happens, I just pull my rights and then I move on to the next step in whatever process that I'm going to be doing, whether it's revising and republishing as a self-pub book, or it's revising, adding to it, lengthening it, or shortening it, whatever the case may be, and maybe submitting it to a new publishing house. So, that's an option as well. And then with my experience, when I've been doing self-publishing, when you're dealing with companies like Drafted Digital, Amazon's, Smashwords, they are set up specifically for self-publishing authors. And they are fantastic companies to work with. Now, Drafted Digital and Smashwords, you are going to see more sales that are not North America wide per se than Amazon, because Amazon does kind of control the North American market, but that's okay. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. But when you're dealing with Drafted Digital, and Smashwords, they also offer the ability to expand your sales base. So you can go into Barnes & Noble, you can get into iTunes, you can get into Google Play. All of these companies, if they work with them, then oftentimes that's where your book is going to wind up as well. And a lot of them, too, they have the option where you can actually have an ISBN strictly through them, so you're not having to pay for one. Now, ISBNs are kind of tricky because in the U.S., you pay for them. If you're a Canadian citizen and you are a self-published author, you don't pay for your ISBNs. You simply just register and you say, this is how many I want in this particular batch. That's how many you're given. When you use those ones up, you go back and you get another batch, and so on and so forth. Whereas in the States, you do have to pay for them. And I'm not sure what the cost is. When I was looking into it a few years ago, it was quite pricey, but they may have changed. But I'm Canadian, so I never really had to go that route. I was always able to get a free ISBN. So that's another thing when you're kind of thinking of self-publishing. So it's really important to understand what you are looking to do, looking at what your responsibilities are, how much control you want to have, because that's another factor when you're looking at traditional publishing or self-publishing. And I really hope that this video has proved to be helpful, and that there's been some really good tips in here for you to kind of look for. I know myself, when I first started out, I think I had 3 different offers that were from vanity presses before I landed my first contract, and as soon as I knew that they wanted my money, I'm like, no, 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 you need to be paying me, which kind of was a bit of a rude awakening, but yeah, so I really hope that this particular video has proved helpful for you. If you are looking at publishing, whether it's traditional, whether it's self-publishing, kind of what you want to avoid in a vanity press, what you want to look for in a traditional press. And I really hope that, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment for me. I would appreciate that. I appreciate if you hit the subscribe button and the like button. If you don't want to miss any future episodes, which will be coming out, hit the little bell below and you will be notified of any upcoming videos as they come out. Thank you for taking the time to be with me today, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.